Day three. I will skip a few things. I will start telling about the things that were interesting, and that was going into Pasir Barangay, um, kind of a jungle, so to speak. A poor barangay, very poor, um, and houses are so small that people, in some sense, ooze out of their houses as soon as they wake up, and they hang around the street for large portions of the day. Um, and that's where the tricycles appeared in the street image. And it was interesting to see that even there were some large houses that looked well off. It was also so interesting to see that people squeeze in cars wherever it is possible, so to speak. Some car drivers are very brave. I saw somewhat of an idiot working with those 1 gallon water canisters, clearly, in my opinion, quite clearly filling them with questionable water. Um, uh, what's more to tell? Um, there was a kid trying to hug me, and I was not agreeing with that, because if you allow one of those children to do that, it's going to be two or three quite quickly, and it's just like inviting pickpocketing. I would have liked to take more pictures, but I was afraid someone would steal my phone. It was fascinating walking through those streets up until Belgium Street. And then I went to the marketplaces a little bit east of, northeast of the Pasir Barangay. What a jungle, man. It was a furnace of activity. And the music, I mean, I can imagine that if you have a stand selling fish or something like that, that you put a little bit of music of your own on just to entertain yourself. But to have enormous speakers blasting through the entire market hall, I wouldn't do that, man. That's not such a good idea. And people just hanging around there. And there were some places that were actually doing really good business, but there were also a lot of places that business seemed slow, so to speak. It's a jungle of a market. Really. Many of the fish did seem fresh, however. And later on, because I saw a lot of questionable places, I saw a metal workshop, a fairly large one, and I immediately saw that they had fairly expensive equipment for Filipino standards in there. And so I immediately knew that they were quite skilled. And I noticed also immediately that there were about 6, 7, maybe even 8 people working there. And so those guys were probably fairly skilled, but they were managed so poorly. Their entire workshop was flooded with old metals and materials, so they couldn't really work. And when you manage people like that, and that's in Holland, it's the same thing. You have to protect themselves them against themselves, because they need a lot of tools and raw materials, and before you know it, they are swamped in their own crap that's too valuable to throw away. But for sure, I think that could have been a thriving business. It was already quite running well because there were multiple people working there. What was also interesting to see that a few places I saw that they had made a small shrine because somebody died and there was a coffin there. I saw 2 or 3 of those today in that Pasil Barangay. And another thing that suddenly looks well maintained is the churches. They look fine. The people care about that. There's no doubt about that. They really care about that. All in all, a lot of walking, and it was a fascinating day.